We are both lawyers based here in Hamburg, so excuse our German accent. And we wanted to talk to you about NFT regulation today.
Yes, hello, my name is Nico. Yes, I'm also a lawyer at DLA Piper, also based here in Hamburg, and I help digital business clients develop business models.
So, NFT projects. A lot of people think, well, it's decentralized, I don't have to comply with anything, but now we know this is not the case. There are some issues that you have to take care of, and these are the 5 main points in our view.
Yes, so normally if you talk about legal topics for NFT projects, everybody is talking about IP, intellectual property, but we take the view that these are the most important issues for NFT projects. So the first issue is, of course, regulation. Chris is an expert. He will a little bit give some insights later on this. IP, as I said, is, of course, a very important topic, and we will tell you what you need to take care of in regards to IP. Taxes as well, yes, very important. But most people forget about e-commerce topics because, I mean, if you for example, mint an NFT, e-commerce compliance is also very important, and we want to tell you a little bit about e-commerce compliance in Europe.
Yeah, so we actually developed a framework for NFT project founders to think about when thinking about legal issues and what to do. And we basically divide this in 2 stages. The first is the if stage, and the second stage is the how. And in the first stage, the question is the NFT project allowed at all? And the how stage is about how to implement the actual legal requirements into your NFT project. And there are 2 phases for this.
Yes, and especially in regards to the how phase, we see 2 phases which are very important. The first one is the build phase. So when you develop your project, we have certain legal requirements in this phase. So for example, if you involve third parties, freelancers working for your project, you of course need to take care of everything mostly in a contract, what they do for you and how the intellectual property is shared. And the second, also very important phase is the run phase. So as soon as your project starts, you need to take care of your mint page and the e-commerce regulations.
But let's start with the if first. Is my NFT project allowed at all? And this is, for a lawyer, this is an easy question. Of course, you have to look that your project complies with the applicable laws. So you can't offer an NFT project that is not allowed. And you basically look into things that are not allowed in the real world too. And those are also not allowed as NFT projects. This is obvious, I think, but we still tell it to our clients and tell them to think about whether what they want to do is allowed or not. A common example is drugs. In the real world, there are drugs that are allowed and drugs that are not allowed. And of course, if you want to offer an NFT project related to drugs, then you have to look whether the drugs that are related to your NFT project are allowed or not.
And Chris, is this based on European regulations? So if I are an NFT project based in the US, do I need to take care of EU regulation as well?
Well, that depends on where you want to offer your NFTs. If you only want to offer it to US customers, then you're probably safe to say that you don't need to care that much about German or European law. But most founders want an international audience for their project and want international customers, and then they have to look a bit farther than just the US. And other things to look on this if stage is, do you need a license? Because if you need a license, you are only allowed to do the project if you have that license. And if not, then you're not allowed to do the project.
Yes, next issue, the IP question. I already talked about that. So you can see it on the slide. So you need to take care of the rights chain. What does that mean? So for example, if you are the NFT project in the middle and you involve agencies, freelancers, you of course need a contract with them. And in this contract, you need to govern the IP rights. So which rights will you get in regards to the developments by the third parties? And you also need to take care that everything that you get from your agencies and freelancers is then in a certain way passed on to the customers. You you also need to think about the question, how much IP right do I want to give to my customers? And this is usually stipulated in the terms and conditions of your project. And as I said, take care of this right chain, because otherwise you are not allowed to give any rights to your users or customers at all.
The next thing is regulation. Actually, we don't even know how to spell it, I see. Sorry about that. You need to implement regulatory requirements into your NFT project. And this includes the financial regulation, of course. Germany, for example, has a definition of crypto assets, and you have to see whether your NFTs fall under this definition. And this becomes even more relevant with the new European MiCA regulation that you might have heard of already. This is the hot topic at the moment. It will enter into force tomorrow, the 29th. And then there is an implementation phase of 18th month, and it will fully apply from the 30th of December in 2024. And this has a different crypto asset definition than the German regulation. And it has some clauses that even deal with NFT projects. So you have to see if your project is covered by this regulation and if any of the requirements of this regulation apply. And requirements that are connected to this are the prospectus requirement and KYC requirements. Because if you're offering a regulated product, then you also have to comply with these requirements. But in our experience, most of the NFT founders don't want to fall under these regulations, so they have to see that they structure their NFT in a way that it's not a regulated instrument.
And how can I do that? How can I escape this regulation, especially the MiCA?
Well, a main thing is that you look for investment purposes and avoid them. Because the more you promise investing opportunities for your NFT customers, the more you fall into the regulation. And if it's pure utility or art especially, then you're less covered. And you have to see it, because you know that the projects are different. Every NFT has a different utility, speaks to a different audience, and you also have to see what are you promising your customers, and is there something that might be regulated or not.
So I need to take care of my website and my advertising claims and how I promote my project on Instagram and stuff like that, because otherwise there's a high risk that I fall under this regulation.
Correct. And then we're actually at your next topic and the how phase.
Yes. So as I already said, e-commerce and consumer protection is, of course, a very important topic if you sell digital goods to consumers. To be honest, I mean, even years ago, we already sold films and videos and stuff on the internet, and this is already covered by the existing regulation provided in the European Union. And the same applies for NFT projects, to be honest. So if you provide an NFT and there's a minting website, you of course need to comply with consumer regulations. So first of all, you need terms of use. You need a data protection notice, because it's very likely that at least some data will be processed on your minting website, which will be personal data under the GDPR. And as a second topic, you also need to describe the characteristics of your NFTs. So if you have a utility or a certain roadmap, be as specific as possible, because this will be the scope of the services owed to your consumers. A third very important topic is the implementation of the minting process. I would say if you're used to set up an online shop, for example, the same requirements apply for your minting process. So for example, the German regulation is very specific on how the button labeled, which leads to the mint of the NFT, for example. That's the same in an online shop at the moment already. And
what about withdrawal? I heard something about that.
Yes, that's the last point on our slide, actually. So most people are afraid of this topic, because they know if I buy some, I don't know, shoes in an online shop, I can send them back to the online shop in a certain period of time. To be honest, the same applies for NFTs. But for NFTs as a digital good, we have certain ways to waive this right of withdrawal. So I need to implement certain text in my online shop or in my minting page to allow the consumer to say, hey, I want the NFT now, but by doing so, I waive my right to withdraw. This is a very important topic, and most projects do not take care of this issue, and it's very easy to tackle, to be honest.
Is this a German thing?
No, it's a European thing. It's based on European regulation. So even if you're only targeting European customers, not only specific German customers, you need to take care of that.
And one thing we also wanted to mention is applicable law. This is usually something that you have to think about in the beginning of your project. Where do you want to base your company? Company is also misspelled, sorry. And where is your audience that you want to address with your project? We spoke to founders who thought that when they are based in Dubai, they don't have to comply with the German requirements or the European requirements. But actually, that's not true. When you have customers in Germany, you have to think about German regulations and German consumer protection requirements.
Yes, so that's basically, again, the same as in e-commerce, in typical e-commerce. So if we advise, for example, American or Israeli customers or companies, and as soon as they target customer in the European Union, they fall under the regulation provided here. So if I, for example, have a minting page in German as well, I need to comply with German regulation. Or if I accept certain payment methods only available in Europe or Germany, I fall under this regulation. And I do know that this is very complex from a project point of view, because I don't want to comply with all laws available in the world. But as soon as you target European customers, strict compliance is required from my point of view.
So to wrap this up, NFT projects are allowed and it's possible to make them compliant. But you have to look for certain issues and comply with them.
And maybe last word from me, don't be afraid. I mean, all these topics are manageable in some way. Just speak to a good lawyer, and I'm very sure that he will help you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for these impressive insights.